Yeah, like we always do about this time. What's going on? It's Jay Myrax, altruist.com. Thank you once again for joining me. Still getting set up right now, but I appreciate y'all joining me every week. Usually it's on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific time, but tonight it's a Monday night, and I appreciate y'all nonetheless joining me. I think that tonight is going to be a great session for you guys, especially those of you guys that are interested in just really expanding your skill set and your tool set as music producers. Here I am, people. What's going on? Peace, everybody. You know the deal. What's going on, man? This is Jay Myrax, altruist.com. If you're unfamiliar with my site and what we do here, I have a music production community that I'm serving here, and you know, we try to just build each other up with wisdom, knowledge, and information about how to succeed in the craft. I have a free 6-part video series on my website right now for music producers called Sound Mind Sessions. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about the craft, I highly recommend that you go ahead to altruist.com. There'll be a link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're watching this on IG, you can go to the link in my bio and you can get access to my free 6-part video course. Talks about a lot of stuff. Talks about sound design. It talks about music production. It talks about how to find clients, where to, how to get mentorship, how to really just navigate this whole music game so that you can be successful as a music producer or music creator. Highly valuable content in there. So I highly recommend you get it. Anyhow, that's that. Where's everybody from? Let me know. I'm about to get into this chat room right now. Let's see where y'all from out here. Let's see. Los Angeles King, what's good, bro? West, I see you. EJ Beats, what's going on? What's going on, y'all? Okay, getting this YouTube together. Sorry, I'm usually a bit better prepared than this, but I appreciate y'all. Chevy Voltaire, I see you up in here, bro. Santa Barbara. That's what's up. Quick Shot. Hey, what's going on, my guy? What's going on with you, bro? T. James Dean, Canada. What's going on with you? Listen, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all joining me. We're going to get it in tonight. So, yeah, sorry I couldn't do it last night. I, had some stuff I had to get into. Lee Landers, what up? What up, cuzzo? I see you. The OG, T. Lee. Yes, sir. Love you, bro. Love you. Let's see here. Play or something. Oh, man. You already know, man. What's going on, everybody? I see y'all up here in YouTube. Where am I from? I'm from Los Angeles, California. Born and raised. Born and raised. So yeah, one of the rare real Californians, real Los Angelians or whatever, Los Angelinos or whatever they call us out here. Yeah, man. So okay, tonight I got a couple things I'm gonna talk about on this stream. So I think if you're interested in sound design stuff, this will be a good one for you. I'm gonna be sharing some old school drum digital synthesis. So I'm gonna be sharing some old school ideas and techniques that people ain't talking about right now because it's old school. But I think a lot of younger producers and some older producers will get a lot of value from some of this stuff I'm gonna show because it's useful. It can be used for a lot of different things. So I'm gonna get into that tonight, show you some examples of some things that I used to do to create drum sounds and how you can do it right now using really basic stuff like your DAW, microphone, and a couple other things. Before I get into that though, the homie from Subpac hooked me up with a Subpac. So I got this, let me show you guys this thing. I got this Subpac here. Boom. So the homie hooked me up with the Subpac. And I've been messing with this for, let's see here. I've been messing with it for a couple days now. And it's really interesting. If you're not familiar with what the Subpac is, it is a device that is designed to be coupled with a monitoring system, usually for a headphone system. And it is designed to help represent sub frequencies for people that are monitoring using things like headphones, earbuds, and other, direct monitoring headwear type of devices. So Subpac is really interesting because it replaces the need for a sub or like a subwoofer in a home setup. They also have like a travel pack version where you can wear it on your back as a backpack. Really interesting though, because for me, one of the challenges that I have when producing in a home studio environment is that I wear headphones a lot. I'm wearing headphones now. I wear headphones a lot of the times, and I've gotten used to it. And it's not really because I'm necessarily worried about the noise. I've just gotten accustomed to wearing headphones as a part of the production process. I know other producers like Timberland that have that same thing. Like, even though I'm in a studio environment, I got speakers and monitors and whatnot, I still do a lot of stuff on headphones first. But one of the challenges with wearing headphones is the volume level. You can damage your ears when using headphones, especially for long periods of time with high volume. That's a problem. And I think if you are not careful, you can lose sensitivity, you can lose all kinds of other issues, and eventually lose hearing if you're not careful with how you monitor when you're wearing headphones. And the Subpac really does some wonders at addressing the volume issue for headphone producers, because the Subpac gives you the feeling of the sub frequencies without having to raise the volume in the headset loud. So that means I can monitor whatever I'm working on at much lower frequencies, or I should say much lower volumes, and still have a feeling of the lower frequencies coming through. So it's a major ear saver, but it's also just a major benefit because now I'm able to get another perspective of how the lower frequencies are being represented in the stuff that I'm working on. And this weekend I did pretty much an all-day session doing sound design work, making drum sounds using the Subpac as one of the primary reference points. And it was interesting because I could feel how it kind of influenced some of the decision making that I was doing while I was making the sounds. So one of the things I felt was that I was pushing harder at the transients, like making a better effort to make the transients more apparent so that I could feel it more in the Subpac. So here's a challenge with that now. Because it has an influence on the way I'm hearing things, it can potentially have an influence on how things are being mixed. So I think the Subpac is a great idea, but one of the things that I know that I have to do in order to make the best use out of the Subpac is to make sure that I do a lot of cross-referencing, to make sure that the stuff that I'm doing on the Subpac actually translates to the real world and is applicable in a true sense. Because you can easily fall into the situation where you're allowing the Subpac to dictate too much of how you represent frequencies, especially on the low end. And for some people, what happens is when they have too much sub being represented in their monitoring system, they will end up with a mix that is much weaker because their subs won't actually translate into a real world environment. So that what'll happen is you'll feel like, yeah, my kicks are hidden because I got the sub or I got the Subpac or whatever it is, and it's hidden, it's punching real hard. But then when you take it to the car or you take it to a club environment or somewhere else, then your kicks sound weak because all of a sudden you're realizing, oh man, my kicks weren't hidden nearly as hard as I thought. And my monitoring situation was fooling me. So that's why I definitely think you have to be careful with something like a Subpac, and you have to reference. At the end of the day, that is the case with all monitoring systems, whether you are working with a Subpac or whether you're working with a subwoofer or whether you're working with, bigger monitors that have, maybe an 8-inch or a 10-inch woofer. You have to be careful with that. And I think that as long as you do proper cross-referencing, you learn the system, you listen to how different songs that are how the frequencies are being represented on that system or whatever monitoring system you use, you'll be able to make better judgment calls on when enough is enough on the low end or when you don't have enough. You'll be able to know just based off of things that you're already familiar with. So I definitely recommend that if you mess with a Subpac, that you take some time to use it with music that you're already familiar with, not music that you're creating right now, because that's too fresh. You don't have enough familiarity about how the mixes translate and all that stuff. But listen to some records that you know very well, and then you start to calibrate your environment and your system based upon how the stuff is translating on that system. So I believe that the Subpac can be a very useful tool for music producers as long as they take the time to learn it and also calibrate it so that it's appropriate to their environment. But I think it's a great thing for understanding or getting a different perspective on low frequency energy, and also getting a different perspective of your mix while still maintaining a very nice low or modest level. Okay, so that's my early impressions on the Subpac. So shout out to the homeboy for lacing me. Shout out to the folks at Subpac for lacing me with that. I appreciate it. It's definitely gonna get put to use. So in today's show, I said I was gonna talk about some old school drum synthesis methods. I think there's some really slept on methods of drum synthesis. I see a lot of people going after modular synthesizers and things of that nature, trying to build drum sounds. And I understand, analog drum synthesis is one way to create sounds. But I think one of the ways that people sleep on is using the stuff that they already have in their DAW. Did you guys lose sound on YouTube, guys? Somebody said we lost sound. Did we lose sound on YouTube, guys? Let me know, because I don't want to continue if we don't have sound on YouTube. So somebody let me know before I get into this, because I don't want y'all to miss what is about to go down. IG, thank you, Josh. I appreciate you, bro. IG is good. Did y'all lose sound on YouTube? We good? Cool. We good on YouTube. All right, cool. So we're going to get into this. Some old school drum synthesis. So most of us have DAWs. Most of us have tools that can emulate some of the functionality that you have in a analog synth or a modular synth for that matter. It's just about understanding the relationship of some of the tools in the system. So I'm gonna show you some of the tools and some of the techniques I used to use, and I still use today, to create drum sounds. I'm not gonna go too deep, but I'm gonna give you some inspiration here so that you understand how you can use things that you already have. So if you're watching this on IG, I'm gonna try to turn this a little bit so we can see the computer, but those on YouTube, let me share my screen with y'all. Boom. So I'm in Logic Pro right now. Okay, can y'all see this on YouTube? Everybody, y'all see I'm in Logic Pro? If y'all can see, yeah, I think y'all can see it now. So we're in Logic Pro. So I got an audio track here. Audio track is connected to my microphone. So I'm on channel 1 here. That's connected to my microphone. And let me switch to this other view so y'all can see a little bit of the setup real quick outside on my desk here. So I got a microphone right here. Okay. So here's my microphone, and that's routed to my Logic. Okay, so let's go back to Logic for a second. Okay, so one of the things I used to do for creating drum sounds is to record stuff in my environment and use the stuff in my environment to create what I would call a trigger. Okay, so what I'm gonna do real quick is in Logic we're gonna start recording. So I'm gonna hit the record button in Logic now, and then let me turn this metronome off. Y'all need to hear the metronome. We don't need that. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is record what I'm gonna call a trigger. And I'm just gonna use my desk as a trigger. I'm gonna record the desk. So check this out. I'm gonna just go. All right, so I got that. We'll stop recording here. Let me make sure I got some signal here. All right. Let's go back to Logic. Let me open that up real quick. So I'm gonna use my desk as a trigger. I'm gonna record the desk. So check this out. I'm gonna just go. Okay, so we got our triggers in here right now. So I got 2 triggers that I just recorded, and I'm just gonna go to the triggers here. So these are what I'm calling triggers because they're going to be used to trigger a different sound. We're going to use some old school techniques to do some triggering. So I'm going to put this on loop now, and I only need to loop, let's see, 2 bars here because I only need these. And what I'm going to do on this first track is I'm going to put a noise gate. We're going to put a noise gate on this first track. So we should just be getting just a trigger sound now. All right, so I got a little bit more than I need, but it's all good. We can still do what I need to do with that. Might cut out a little bit more of this voice. So, all right. Okay, so I'm gonna on this gate here, I'm gonna give it a little bit more release. Okay, so can y'all hear that? Can y'all hear that? Okay, so that's just me hitting on the table. So old school drum synthesis. Here's one of the things that people sleep on within their DAWs. On this second track here, what I'm going to do is add another noise gate to this one. So we're going to add a noise gate, mono gate here. And then what I'm going to also do is I'm going to drag this down here, and I'm going to add in my utility, I'm going to add what's called a test oscillator. Now, Logic has this, but also Pro Tools and other DAWs have these sorts of things, test oscillators. This is very useful because with a test oscillator, I can create a tone. And this tone can be used to create a synth sound if I want to. Signal generators, that's like my dude Los Angeles King just said, signal generators. So here's the thing, I have a gate on top of this test oscillator because if I take the gate off, you're just gonna hear right now a sine tone. Let's see here, it's muted, so that's that. Nobody wants to hear that. But it's a sine tone. So here's the thing now. What I'm going to do is take the trigger that I recorded, which was me hitting on the table, and I'm going to route the signal from that into this other channel that has the test oscillator and the noise gate. So I'm going to just go straight out. So I'm going to go output of this track is going to go to, let's see, bus 1. And then I'm going to say the input of the track that has the test oscillator and the noise gate, we're going to add bus 2. We're going to add the input as bus 2. So now what's going to happen is this. I'm going to put now the noise gate above the test oscillator. And you'll see why in a second. Because what I want to happen now, actually no, let me take that back. Let me put the let me put the noise gate below, because we've already got the noise gate up here, so I don't need it anymore. I've got that noise gate up here. What I'll do now is we're going to use sidechain. And we're going to use sidechain in a way that a lot of people aren't using right now. I think a lot of you are familiar with sidechain because you use it for an effect to create this pumping sound. But I'm actually going to use, let's see, we said bus 1. So I'm going to use bus 1 as my sidechain here. And I'm going to use bus 1. So we've added bus 1 here to the sidechain. So now my gate is going to respond to the sidechain signal, which is my trigger. So the thing is now with the sidechain, we need to change the threshold. So if you notice now, my sidechain is responding to the signal. Can y'all hear that? All right, so sidechain is responding to the signal that is coming from my table hidden. All right, so this sidechain on audio track 2 is assigned to, it has a sidechain bus 1, which is coming from here, which is the trigger, and I've sent the output of the trigger to bus 1. So the signal from the trigger, which is me hidden on the table, is going directly into the sidechain. Okay, so what's happening now is on this track that has the test oscillator, it is going to open up or release the oscillator only when the sidechain opens up. So now, here's the thing about that. Let me take this monitor or record enable off so we don't trigger it like that. Now, on my test oscillator, what I can do is change the frequency, because right now we're hearing a beep, but the beep is at 1,000 hertz. Let's change the frequency down a bit. Let's go 130 hertz. Okay. Let's change it down to 94 hertz. Let's change it down to 85 or 78 hertz. Let's change it down a little bit deeper. 64 hertz. Even deeper. Let's go 50 hertz. Okay. Y'all hear what's happening with that now? What's happening is now the sidechain is triggering the gate, which is allowing a little bit of the test oscillator signal that is running at 56 hertz to pass through, which is producing a tone from the generator. And the generator is actually being, there's an envelope that is being created by this noise gate. So what I can do is modulate, or I can change the amount of the test oscillator that's coming out by changing the release time, for example. Let me take my voice out because that's kind of killing the game a little bit here. Hold on 1 second, take the voice out. And then we're just gonna loop that first bar now. So listen to how we're getting more of this test oscillator out now. Y'all hear that? Y'all hear how it's getting louder, it's getting longer? Or I can tighten it up. So what's happening now is I'm doing some old school drum synthesis by using just a recorded sound as a trigger, and I'm using a test oscillator to generate the tone or the fundamental of this sound that I'm making. And I can make a kick out of this. So if I change the release a little bit, make it tighter, right? And if I want to continue doing some shaping on this new tone, I can do something like, for example, maybe put a distortion or something on it just to give it a little bit more character. You know, let's see what distortion this is. and take the drive down. So I wanted to show y'all that because I know people have been getting a lot of drum synths and looking at drum synths. Yes, you won't hear it on IG. You got to look at it on YouTube, unfortunately, because this is like we getting real deep. So you want to get the deep experience with it, you got to go on YouTube. My folks on YouTube, y'all heard that. The thing is, your DAW, generally, your DAW has these test oscillators that can be used if you apply some basic engineering. Okay, you apply some basic engineering, some ideas like using noise gates and signal flow to process the sound, to create different interactions. Here's the thing. You can use this without buying a drum synthesizer. You know, I'm not using stuff that people don't have access to. You can create drum sounds and other types of sounds using things that are commonly accessible by, you know, a general music producer that just has a DAW. And I wanted to show that because I know a lot of you guys are getting interested in selling drum sounds and selling sounds and stuff like this. And I want to empower you to experiment with things that you actually have recorded, as opposed to only experimenting with things that you found somewhere else from somebody else's library and then have put some effects on. Because there's so much potential for using your DAW as a sound source or a sound generator. You know, for example, with this sound that I have now, we can do variations of this to create even more tone. So for example, if I want to go back now, let me switch back to the screen real quick on YouTube. If I want to now, I can create an additional track. Or actually, let me go, let's see. I can send this signal here from the sine tone to bus, I'm gonna say bus 3 here. So I'm gonna send it to bus 3. And then on bus 3, let's go to my view here. So on bus 3, what I can also do is put another, let's do another noise gate. Okay. And I'm going to also have this noise gate listen to, let's see here. Well, I've already sent signal. I could have just had it listen to bus 1. So I can actually get rid of that. I don't need that. Because it's signal flow. We got to look at how's the signal getting there and where is it coming from. So I got a noise gate here, and what I'm going to do is add another noise generator or a test oscillator. So this time I'm going to use a different test oscillator. I'm going to use like white noise. So you'll see what's going to happen now. Like I have the gate assigned to listen to channel or bus 1. So you see I added white noise on top of this kick sound now. And I can modulate that a little bit. Let's go back. Looking at the wrong gate here. That's the gate. So I can add different frequencies on top of it just using different test oscillators on it. So, you can do a lot of variations of that, right? So that's the thing. Use the tools that you have at your disposal right now. Start playing with certain stuff in your DAW. You may not have thought about using your DAW that way, but you can create sounds that way. So I want to share that with y'all. Little gems, little old school gems. People ain't, necessarily making stuff like that. Now, I didn't get too deep into shaping the sound because there's a lot of techniques and tools and stuff that I use to actually shape the sound more and process it, bring more warmth, dynamics, and other stuff to it. But that is a technique that you can use to create sounds. We can use different variations of that to create different sounds. Like I could, hit a stick on the table and use that as a trigger for the white noise and create a clap or something else. So there's a lot of different ways to think of that, but that is one way that you can start creating your own drum sounds that you own without buying a drum synthesizer, without buying some hardware. Now, analog is going to sound different. There's different oscillators. There's just different possibilities with the analog synthesizer. There's different possibilities with other instruments and whatnot. But that's one way to think about it. That's one way to think about getting into starting to create sounds and being creative with the stuff that you have. So I wish I would have been able to spend a little bit more time on that and prepare that. So I apologize if that was confusing for some, but I just want to drive the point home that most of your DAWs have noise gates and test oscillators. And you can use combinations of those along with recorded sounds to create drum tones. And we can use some of these routing and signal flow techniques to emulate the functionality that you would get in, say, a modular synth or a drum synth or something like that, just using ideas like signal flow and gating. So hopefully that helps some of y'all. Hopefully that inspires some of y'all to start experimenting a little bit more and gives you some ideas about how you can further do things and be creative. I want to take this time now to do the Q&A like we always do. So, hold on real quick, y'all. Hold on real quick. Yeah, so we're going to do Q&A. So if y'all got questions up in here, let me know, y'all. Let me know. Okay, yeah, somebody, let's see, Taste Like Izzard said he can hear a clap coming out of the white noise. Yeah, you can definitely do a clap with that. It's just about how you deal with the signal, how you deal with the actual frequencies. So, if I turn down, let's see, if I turn down the sub, we can have something else going on here, right? And then, you can shape it as needed. This is the wrong one. Let's change this gate here. And then you do various signal processing to get that sounding the way you want that to sound. But, a lot of this stuff can start with like recorded sound. Like I could start with the actual clap as a trigger and then layer that with the noise and create other stuff. There's a lot of ways to approach it. Yeah. So anyhow, hopefully that kind of gave some inspiration. Let me see what y'all talking about in here though. Y'all talking about headphones in here. Let's see here. Chevy Voltaire says, you ever mess with Nord Modular or Max MSP to experiment this way? So when I was in college, I went to school for computer engineering. And part of the elective program that I took was computer music. This was way back. This was many years ago now. But in my computer music program, we learned Max MSP. That was part of the program and curriculum, and we created different things. I created several things like a sequencer and a sampler and a couple other things using Max MSP. So I'm definitely familiar, have used it like way back in the day. Definitely a great tool. Even if you're not a programmer, Max MSP can be useful for creating concepts and experimenting. A similar software today that is a little bit more easy to approach would be something like Reactor by Native Instruments. Reactor is a modular environment that you can use to develop. It has a lot of what you would call objects or blocks, or these elements essentially that you can put in that serve different purposes. Like you have signal generators and filters and different things that you can put together to create sounds. Obviously, Reactor and Max MSP are not free, but at the same time, I wanted to show that you can do it without that stuff. You can start experimenting without all of those expensive software and all that stuff. Most of us have DAWs, so then you can start messing with it that way. But yes, Max MSP is an awesome environment because I do a little bit of programming as well. It was helpful because I can add a little bit more to a Max MSP experiment than someone that doesn't program. So part of the curriculum was for us to program some things that worked with Max MSP to create some different concepts. So yeah, definitely if you're interested in learning a bit more about synthesis, and if you want to try to build new ideas or concepts in the digital computer music world, Max MSP is a great environment to start learning. Reactor is a great environment to start learning as well, because those environments allow you to extend or expand beyond the preset world, or the box that a lot of these software applications put you in, because it's about you adding elements as you see fit, as opposed to you being given a set signal flow and a set way of dealing or interacting with the synthesizer. Let's see here. CC Funk says, this reminds me of using synths to create that kind of noise sound, which is great. Exactly. I mean, yes, we can use the, I have the Moog Mother 32 here, for example. We could use that because it has a, white noise generator. It has CV, it has ways to be triggered by external sound. It has all kinds of input and output capability. Again, I just wanted to show you how to do it with your DAW, because you could have done it, it's a ton of ways you could do this, but the DAW offers something that's like really accessible. And if you understand signal flow, you can make stuff happen. It's input, output. Let's see, any other questions y'all have here? I know it's Monday. I know, it ain't the weekend. Usually on the weekend, y'all got all this energy. It's cracking. Y'all like, oh, talking all this stuff, and it's dope. Some of y'all got the case of Mondays. Listen, let me tell you about Monday real quick. It don't matter what day of the week it is, man. Like the whole concept of a weekend is it's a social construct. Okay? It's a social construct. Every day is equal. It's equally important every day. So don't ever use the weekend as the refuge from life, because if you use the weekend as your refuge to life, it's showing that you don't appreciate the life that you have. If God has you here today, make sure that you make the most of today and bring the same energy every day. Bring the same energy every day. Try to work on your purpose and your mission every day. I don't care if it's Monday. I don't care if it's Saturday. I don't care what time it is. If you got something that you could be doing right now that will help you to fulfill your purpose in life, do it. All right? Don't get discouraged ever by what day of the week it is or what time constraints you think you have. If you appreciate the fact that you're alive today, you'll understand that today is a day for you to do something amazing, and God is giving you everything that you need to do what he wants for you to do today. You know what I'm saying? So go do it, man. Don't let today or the week or the circumstances influence your ability to be the light in the world. All right, that's just some wisdom there. Byron, what's going on, bro? Byron J.E. on IG is asking, for professionalism, do I need to drop Fruity Loops Studio and learn Logic or Native DAW? I ask because I never hear it listed with the others. Why? The DAW that you use has nothing to do with professionalism. A DAW is a preference. You use a DAW because it offers features, tools, functionality, workflow, or some other feature or some other aspect that appeals to you and appeals to your sensibilities as a music producer. Has nothing to do with how professional you are. Let's talk about FL Studio not being professional, or this talk about other DAWs and stuff not being as professional. Professional has to do with how you conduct yourself as an individual. It's about how you approach things. Who cares if you use Pro Tools if you are not a man of your word? For real. Like, who cares if you use Pro Tools if, like, I'm calling you to do some work and, you don't commit, or you don't have the decency to commit or follow up, or all these types of things that we look to when we're asking for people's work or people's advice or people's help on stuff. So if I hired you as a producer, I email you and I ask you for a certain thing, and you tell me you're going to give it to me tomorrow, and you tell me you're going to go work on Fruity Loops, and you're going to handle your business, and you send it to me tomorrow. That's professional to me. Did you follow up? Did you make a realistic commitment, and did you stick to it? I don't care what DAW you use. What DAW you use is more about what's comfortable for you and what you can get results in. I think if you understand your gear, you can get professional results. And if at any point the gear that you're using does not get you to the place that you want to be creatively, or if it doesn't allow you to get the functionality that you need to accomplish a task, then add the necessary tools to that setup so that you can accomplish your task. That doesn't mean throw away Fruity Loops. That doesn't mean throw away whatever DAW. You might need to add another piece of equipment that gives you that functionality and integrate it into your setup. I'm not one that believes in general that there is a end-all be-all of any type of gear or tools. There's a reason we have a toolbox. There's a reason that there are screwdrivers and hex wrenches and channel locks and all sorts of other tools, hammers and all kinds of other stuff. There's a reason for that, because each tool has different applications, and you need to understand what is the appropriate application for each tool that you're about to use. And that's more important. I think that makes you professional, when you understand when your tools are inadequate for the job and you choose the right thing in place of what you are most comfortable with in normal circumstances. So that's my stance on it. I don't subscribe to any one thing because it's unrealistic, and that's what a real professional understands. A real professional understands that, if I need to deal with frequency balance, EQ is going to be better than compression in a lot of cases. If I need to deal with levels and making sure that my levels are consistent, I might go for compression, but I also might employ automation, like volume automation, for example. Just understanding different tools and when they are most appropriate to accomplish the task. That's what makes you professional, and also how you conduct yourself when you're dealing with people on a professional level. That's the stuff that's most important. Let's see here. CC Funk says, you have talked about gear envy. It's real hard to keep up with everything with how quickly things come out. When I see something with features I need, I'm going to get that, good or bad. You got to have some self-control, right? You know, it's not realistic to buy everything just because you see it. There's so much stuff out there that I see and I would love to have, and I don't just run out there and buy it because, you know, being fiscally responsible is important just as a person. In the music industry, a lot of people don't have a good upbringing, and they don't understand how to deal with money. So when they get a lot of money, they start buying a whole bunch of stuff just because they have a lot of money and don't understand the importance of budgeting and, you know, short term versus long term. And I think you have to have a sense of delayed gratification. You shouldn't just be buying stuff just because you want to buy it right now. You need to evaluate things, evaluate the pros and the cons, evaluate how much do I need this? Am I going to get a return on investment if I buy this thing? Is this a toy or is this a need? You know, I feel that way about a lot of gear. You know, people ask me about all kinds of stuff like, hey, this new controller came out and it looks dope. Do I need to get it? And my thing is, well, do you need it first of all? Do you have a controller already? Are you going to get a return on investment from buying that thing? It's a controller. I don't know. If you already got a controller and you're not going to get a return on investment, you don't necessarily need it. So now it becomes what what some people refer to as a doodad, or a thing that you buy or just comes up and it's just an expenditure that you make, and it doesn't really add to your assets, or it doesn't allow you to build or create a return on investment. Very important that you understand what you can get a return on investment out of when you buy gear as well. As a music producer, some stuff you can't really calculate a direct return on investment. Sometimes there's like indirect return on investment. Sometimes things are just inspirational, and some things, you know, can't be measured. But I think a lot of this stuff can, if you're talking about it from a professional sense. And I'm speaking about it professionally. If music production is a hobby, you know, you might have to answer to certain people, you know, with your spending. I don't know what your situation is. Some of us are married. Some of us have children. Some of us are young and don't have any of that. Some of us just have parents that we have to answer to in terms of how we spend our money or how we use our money. I think if you have anybody that you have to answer to as far as how you spend your money, you need to consider it. It's a reality of life. That's a reality of being a human being in this system, especially in a capitalist system. You have to manage money, and you have to know when you should buy stuff and when you shouldn't. I try to buy stuff that I can get a return on investment from. You know, I try to. Most of the time, I try to get stuff that allows me to, you know, be creative, but also allows me to generate sound or create sound. And, you know, as a professional sound designer, that's been important, you know, being able to, you know, have ownership of the sounds I'm creating and recording and stuff. And also being able to just accomplish the tasks that I have out for me. Like if I need to record a certain thing and I know that I need a audio interface or some other thing that's going to allow me to record it and accomplish the task that I have, I buy that stuff that's necessary to get the job done. Okay. And that's an important thing. That's an important concept to have when we talk about gear buying. Don't just buy stuff just because it looks cool. Evaluate it and understand if it's going to help you to get a task done. Because a lot of times you can try to convince yourself that you need it just because something looks cool, but if it doesn't really help you to get a task done, you may want to reconsider it. All right. So hopefully that answered the question. I would say in general, though, you know, just evaluate it. Really think about what value you're going to get out of it and make sure that you can potentially get a return on investment. Let's see here. Brian Levy. All right, what's good? I see you. He says, I bought an MPC Touch and get jealous of the machine all the time. But when I look at it analytically, the only thing I get out of it is easier access to modify sounds. So I just stick with the MPC Touch to master it because the new gear wouldn't add too much. It depends what you're trying to get out of it, right? So I think if the primary reason for you to have like a machine, MPC, or anything else is for sampling and sequencing, you're not going to get that much value moving from machine or moving from the MPC to machine. And I'm saying that as someone that works for Native Instruments, okay? So I think we just got to be realistic about it. I'm not here to sell you guys any type of gear. That's not my intention here. We just got to talk real about this stuff because I want you guys to be empowered to use the stuff that actually makes you happy and brings value. So if you already got an MPC Touch and it's, first of all, if it's working for you, if it's getting the job done, and if you're primarily just sampling and sequencing, I don't see any value in that. But if we start talking about drum synthesis and drum sound design, and that's something you're interested in, then the machine becomes something that you could consider because that's something that you would get in the machine that you won't get in the MPC Touch. You know, it has, the Native Instruments machine has drum synthesizers. We just did old school drum synthesis. This is the stuff I used to do before Native Instruments had this drum synth inside machine. Now with machine, you know, y'all cheating. As far as I'm concerned, y'all are cheating now because y'all got drum synths that y'all can tweak the sounds and it's already got the parameters set, like the signal flow is there. You can just get in and start working. You know, so if you're into drum synthesis and creating drum sounds, yes, get a machine. But I would say if you're just primarily sampling, sequencing, it's hard for me to say you should get it. It's very hard for me. It depends on what features and functionality is important for you at the end of the day. I know for me, the MPC, like the Renaissance and the some of the other MPCs, like those hybrid MPCs, they didn't check all the boxes for me as far as sampling goes. You know, for example, you may have seen in one of my older videos from this year when I was talking about sampling techniques using synths with the MPC. And I was using the MPC 4000 specifically because the MPC 4000 has some functionality in it that the Renaissance and the Touch and all that software didn't have. One of those things being the idea of a legato or portamento sound. Because I was sampling synths and creating mono synths and basses and whatnot inside the MPC 4000. And that functionality at that time did not exist inside of the Renaissance. So that's why the 4000 was a better choice. Now, alternatively, the machine, you may have seen my Finding the Funk episode. On Finding the Funk, I did a similar thing. The Finding the Funk episode, I used the pocket operator and I sampled a synth in there and I created some sounds that way because it has this sampler that allows me to synthesize the sound and modify the sound and use legato and portamento and these sorts of things to simulate synths inside of the machine. So that's the value for me. Like, if I had to choose the two things, my two favorite samplers right now would be machine and MPC 4000. Okay, because there's not a lot of boxes out there that offer the ease of use in a groovebox drum machine sampler style that have this ability to create key map instruments that play like synthesizers or like keyboards or anything else for that matter. So that's what I love about those synthesizers. A lot of people sleep on that. You know, maybe we haven't talked about that enough on this channel, but that's how I use this stuff. That's why those samplers are important for me. All this other stuff, you know, time stretch, for me personally, time stretch is not a selling point for a sampler. Time stretch is vital for some producers. That's why I said it just depends on who you are and what's important for you as a music producer. If you're one that needs to manipulate a lot of loops and, you want to stretch things out and, do a lot of stuff on the fly without having to worry about the time sync or, the length of the sample, time stretch can be valuable as well. I like the sound that I get from the 4000 when I just use it as a synthesizer as well as a drum machine. Same thing with the machine, but some people need Ableton Live because Ableton Live allows them to manipulate the samples in ways that those devices don't, or those platforms don't. So it just depends. It really depends. But yeah, long story short, only buy stuff that you actually are going to get value from, and you need to evaluate what your use case is and what you actually need in your setup. Let's see. Ruben Smith, what's up? I see you. He says, "What do you think about the MPC-X?" I haven't played it, man. Haven't played it. From what I could tell, though, I really need to get into this. MPC 2.0 software, because at the end of the day, that's what's important with those types of systems. Machine, MPC-X, MPC, what's the other one? The Live, all that. The software is the most important thing on that. What does the software do? I think conceptually, MPC-X, it adds some functionality that's useful. I think it adds some things that, if you're like a modular synth guy, for example, MPC-X has some, it has CV output and all that stuff so that you can integrate it with the with your modular synths and all that. And, it has a touch screen and it has some of the new, storage means and whatnot. But I think for me, number one, the touch screen, not a big deal. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about iOS for the past couple weeks, right? So, I'm big on iOS. I love iOS. I would never buy a MPC because it has a touchscreen, especially not for that price point. I mean, you can get the 10.5 iPad Pro now for like under $1,000, and it's super powerful, super flexible. You can get all kind of different synthesizers on it, samplers, sequencers, all this other kind of stuff. It works with class compliant keyboards and, pad controllers and audio interfaces. I can hook up a duet to this joint. I can hook up, whatever mics I want to. I have a hard time reasoning why I would get an MPC-X. You can't say it's for portability because the thing is huge, so. For me personally, it doesn't add any value, but it may add value for some people. Depends on what you're trying to get out of it. That's my take on it. Let's see here. What else y'all talking about in here? Brian Levy says, if I had to do it over again, I think I'd get a machine. But what can you do? Yeah, James Dean has a point. He said trade. if it's that serious, if you feel like you're not getting the functionality out of the MPC, then yeah, trade. It is what it is. That's if you don't, first of all, if you don't like the MPC and you're not getting the functionality. Now, if there's just some aspect of functionality that you're not getting out of the MPC, but you like everything else, then no, don't trade it, because that'd be crazy. You'd be losing out on so much other stuff that you like for like a couple of things that are not maybe that important at the end of the day. So I think you need to really evaluate what's important to you musically and production wise, and understand, which tool actually offers that for you. Because in some cases you might use both. Look, IG they're about to kick me off in less than a minute. I'm gonna stay on for a little bit longer. So y'all that are watching on IG, y'all just gonna have to log back in. Y'all know the drill if y'all was here last week. But yeah, I apologize for that. There's nothing I can do about that. That's just an IG thing. So please continue on with us if you want to continue to get some information. Otherwise, you can watch the replay. All right, so we're going to shut that down for a second. I apologize to the YouTube fam for IG's ignorance. No, it's not ignorance. That's just how the thing works. All right, so we getting back in here. All right. I'm gonna just take this time real quick. If it's your first time watching, my name is Jay Myrax, of ultrawest.com. If this is your first time watching, I appreciate you watching. I would hope that you subscribe to the channel. If you, if you get value out this video, like it, share it with a friend. I have a free 6-part video course on my website entitled Sound Mind Sessions. It's designed for music creators, music producers, aspiring sound designers, and anybody that's trying to really elevate their game in the music industry. I'm providing a lot of tips, tricks, techniques, and strategies on how to really dominate within your lane as a music creator. So if you're interested in information about how to dominate in your lane, go ahead and check out my site, ultrawest.com. There's going to be a link in the video description that goes directly to my free 6-part video course. And if you're watching this on IG right now, there is a link in the bio. Click on that and that'll take you there and you can get access to the free 6-part video course today. All right. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to take a couple more questions and then we're getting out of here. Don't get out of here. But I appreciate y'all, man. I really do, man. I enjoy this. I enjoy like giving. I enjoy helping and being helpful. So, anything I could do, I'm trying to bridge the gaps here and like provide the wisdom and the guidance that, is useful in today's age. There's a lot of people out here doing YouTube videos and providing a lot of valuable information. I'm just trying to do my part based upon my experience as a music producer. Okay, you got the orange pass though, man. Los Angeles King. I was at a party the other day and one of the homies, a young cat came up to me and was like, yo, and he kind of shocked me. He's like, yo, are you F major? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, man, I used to watch you way back in the day when Machine had the orange pads. And I started dying. He said, when Machine had the orange pads. So anyhow, yeah, you got the orange pads, Mike. MK1. It's all good. It don't matter. At the end of the day, if it works, it works. That's my thing. Some people had issues with the old controller, and sometimes it gets beyond repair and you got to move on. But if your stuff is still working, I don't know. I don't necessarily need to get a new controller every time a new controller model comes out. Like I just got this Roland A49. I'm not necessarily going to get a new A49 model just because they come out with a new one that might have one extra knob or it might have, that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. Yeah, but somebody's asking me about the MK3. I talked about it a little bit, man. Last week, but I haven't played with it. To be honest, I have not played with it, so I hate giving too much of perspective on it, especially if I have not played with it. Not extensively. I can't say I haven't played with it. Of course, I've played with it. Of course, I've seen it. I've touched it. I've worked with it to some degree. But for me, it's really about living with it and creating some music with it. So when I say I haven't played with it, I haven't created any music with it. I haven't really lived with it to a extensive degree where I could get an idea of what value is going to add to me overall in music production. One of the things that is interesting about it is that it does have analog I/O. So, you can bypass your audio interface, or you can use it as an audio interface, and you can record into it. It has line input, and it has like a mic input for dynamic microphones. It doesn't do any type of, it doesn't have phantom power, so you can't use a condenser microphone, but you can use a dynamic at least and record some stuff. But, a lot of the stuff I've been using the SM57. So, I mean, you can at least do that with it, which is cool. I think that's cool. The touch strip is cool. You can use it to do some interesting stuff. Like it's another way of manipulating different parameters as opposed to using a knob. So, you know, it's got some cool functionality, like, you know, you can control the chords and you can control different like other parameters like filters and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's some nice stuff on there, but, you know, color screens, obviously, bus powered. It's nice, man. I think you got to figure out whether you need that right now. You know, I think some people will, some people won't. And that's where I stand with it. Some people are going to need it because they travel and they want something that's all in one, and this provides more of the all in one thing. The other thing is some people like the idea of running multiple sound cards. In a previous episode, a previous stream, I talked about my multi-computer setup. So if one were to want to run a multi-computer setup that included Machine on one standalone system, then Machine could be more close to a standalone with a, you know, with a computer, obviously, but you can run the outputs of that machine into a second computer, and you can have some multi-computer functionality, just like I'm doing right now with my iPad setup. I got my iPad hooked up with an audio interface going into this computer. I record stuff into this computer, but they can talk together. I can send stuff out this computer back into the iPad and all that kind of stuff. So it just depends on how you want to work, man. But I don't necessarily feel like, do I feel like Machine is, or the Machine MK3 is a game changer? Not necessarily. We just talked about this earlier, but the most important part is the software for me. I think the software dictates what the hardware really does at the end of the day. There's some cool functionality that is in Machine, but there's some functionality that some people don't necessarily feel like Machine is able to offer right now, such as real-time time stretch, such as linear audio recording, such as, you know, advanced automation drawing and all this kind of stuff that you'll find in the DAW. And I think for some people, it's not the right tool. So for me, the hardware is just another way of working with the software at the end of the day. That's just my opinion. Chevy Voltaire says, does Machine have velocity crossfade for your key mapped sample-based instruments? Velocity crossfade. So it's not that type of sampler. You don't have crossfade between sample layers. It does have crossfade looping, which is a little bit different, but no, it doesn't. It's not contact where there's crossfade interaction between sample layers, if that's what you're asking. So definitely, if you're looking to do some more advanced keyboard mapping and all that stuff, Machine is not the right thing for that, but it never was really that type of instrument or sampler. It's more, it still has more of the groove box mentality, but it does have some advanced features. Like I said, it does do like portamento, it does some other stuff, but you know, there's no one perfect, you know, device out there at the end of the day. You know, 4000 has some great features. You know, the MPC 4000 has some cool stuff that the Machine doesn't do as well, like as far as LFO routing. MPC 4000 got some nice LFO routing. It's got some good, you know, modulation matrix set up in there, so you can do some really cool things that you can do in the Machine. But when I want to get a little bit more complex with certain aspects of drum sound design, I can use battery as well when we're talking about sampling. People forget about battery because battery is kind of taking the back burner for Machine for most people. But when you want to get a little bit deeper with drum sound design, then battery is still a monster. Battery you can't really sleep on it if you really want to start manipulating sounds a little bit deeper, especially on the sample tip. Okay, I'm gonna take, I think, a couple more questions and we're gonna get out of here. Let's see here. Somebody says, how can you use two audio interfaces in one DAW? So you won't really, unless you use like on Mac, there's aggregate audio interface. You can create like an aggregate setup where you manually go into the core audio and you can connect or create this, what they call an aggregate system or aggregate interface that is using multiple connected interfaces. And you can set, you know, which one is like the clock source and that sort of thing. Why am I sitting up here talking like I can't show you guys? That's why I got my new setup so I can show you. Give me a second here. Give me a second. I'd rather just show you. It doesn't make sense to talk about it conceptually. Hold on one second. Some other folks giving some ideas though. Somebody said, my dude Los Angeles King says, run the output of one to the input of the other as you want to do with old school. Yep. You definitely can do that. Definitely can do that. Don't sleep on old school, like really straightforward signal flow stuff. You can always do that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Sometimes, you know, we can overcomplicate things because we want it to work a certain way. So don't sleep on that. My dude is right. You can do it that way. It'll work. I would say the way you would want to do that, though, if you're going to work that way, I would say the best way to use that technique is to run some application in standalone outside of your DAW. So like maybe a drum machine or a synthesizer. Say if you're running machine in standalone outside of the DAW using one interface, and then you're using Ableton or Logic as your DAW and using another interface for that, then I would run the outputs of the machine or the interface that's connected to the machine into the interface that is going to be used as the DAW, and that's one way that you can run it. Let me share this. I need to set this up. Sorry, y'all getting me hyped because now I gotta show what's happening here. Let's go. Sorry, y'all that are on IG. I apologize. There's certain stuff I can't show. It's just not possible. Appreciate y'all dealing with this though. I mean, if you want to see what we're doing on here, then I would say go to YouTube and y'all can see the whole thing. All right, there we go. So y'all can see that on YouTube, right? Now, mine is a mess right here. That's a mess. Y'all see this. It is a mess because these are all different devices that I have and all this kind of other stuff. All right, let's go show audio devices here. All right, so let me see here. Hopefully y'all can still see this. Hopefully it's not tripping. You probably can't see this because it's a different window now. Womp womp. Let's change the window here. There he is. So y'all can see that now. All right, so in audio devices or audio MIDI setup inside of the core audio or audio MIDI setup on Mac, you have this capability. People are calling me. Hold on. We can't take calls right now. So check this out. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, if you click on this plus button, there's an option that says create aggregate device. That's a key feature inside of Mac. Create aggregate device. So now it's going to look at all the audio devices connected to my system. And I have a lot here because we're running a stream. So we got different stuff connected here in order to make the stream work. But if I wanted to use multiple interfaces connected, I could say I want to use the Apollo right here, and I can add that, and that shows me the inputs and outputs and all that. And say I want to add this additional, this USB codec. This is a different audio interface that I have connected to the system. That's the one that you're hearing everything on right now. I can add that to the system, and now that's an aggregate system, and it's using all the inputs and outputs from both of these devices set up. So now you can see all the ins and the outs at the top here. So that's another way that you can have two audio interfaces connected to one DAW, because once I set this up, I can use this aggregate audio interface as the input or the audio interface for my DAW, and that way we can work. So that's a way you can do it. Now, I'm not about to use that right now because I don't need it. I'm good, but that's one way you can do it, more technical way if you want to use it, if you want to use that idea on Mac. All right. A lot of game tonight, y'all. A lot of game tonight. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys joining every week. Every week, Sunday night. This is Monday. I know we missed out Sunday night, but I appreciate y'all joining me. I appreciate y'all spending some time and communicating with me. And I want to just continue to add value. I do have an announcement though, y'all. I am going to end the first season of this show, which I'm calling the True Sound Creators Show. I'm ending the first season of this at the end of September. Reason is I have to reboot and I have to change some things up to make the stream better. And I'm also going to be a bit more busy into some other projects and doing a lot of different things that I won't be able to keep the schedule. So I'll have to, my last weekly stream of this season, remind you, this is this season. It's going to be at the end of September. So what's that date? What is that date? Just so I can be sure. The last stream of this season will be, well, the calendar is going slow, buddy. Last stream of this season will be I'm going to do the 1st of October. So we're going to reboot. So I'm still going to be posting videos, but it won't be this Sunday night thing through October and November, because I mean it's going to be a lot of stuff going on in October and November, and I won't be able to do streams during that time frame. But we will reboot and it will be better. So I appreciate y'all joining. Come back next week, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Pacific time. We got another topic coming up. Hopefully by then I have my Machine MK3. We'll see. I might not have it. If I do have it, I might do an unboxing, or I might, talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, we're gonna do this again. So I appreciate y'all. Make sure that you check out my website, www.ultrawest.com, and make sure you get access to my free 6-part video course, Sound Mind Sessions, guys. Okay? If you're trying to elevate the game as a music producer, this is valuable. It's going to add a lot of value. You're going to get a lot of wisdom and knowledge that you're not getting elsewhere out on the internet, so make sure you get that. A lot of people can vouch for it. It will bless you. It is excellent. And I want to bless you guys with that. So if you haven't done so, make sure you click on the link in the video description. If you're on IG, make sure that you click on the link in my bio once this is over with, and you can get access. It's free. All right, guys? All good? Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. Happy Monday. Yeah. All right? We're about to get it in. Y'all have a blessed week, y'all. We're going to see you on Sunday night. Until next time, peace and God bless. For real.